Much as I hate the character Franklin Bidan for being the type to cheat on his wife and beat his son and then say he was a good dad all along, I have to give him credit for something. The Gundam that he designed for the Titans, the RX-178 Gundam Mark II, might be the single most important Gundam since the original ever developed. Now to preface this, I need to mention that we're going to be going forward in time here. So if you enjoyed my deep dives into Mobile Suit Gundam's conflicts, this one is actually going to apply to more than just the Gryps War, even though I'm calling it a Gryps War Bonus. In fact, we're going to be going from UC 0087 and the Gryps War, and the mobile suits that this affects go all the way up to Hathaway Noah's attacks on the Federation in UC 105. So what exactly is it that made the Gundam Mark II so special? Doesn't it get traded out for the Zeta Gundam about halfway through the television show? Well, yeah, but it does still get quite a bit of use. But the effects of its development ended up impacting every single war going forward. The reason for this was the movable frame concept. Now, prior to the Gundam Mark II, mobile suits had a skeletal structure, but many of the vital mechanisms for the machines could end up being intertwined within the armor of the suit. The best example of this backfiring is the death of Lieutenant South Burning in 0083, where a damaged actuator in the suit ended up causing a chain reaction which killed the one-year war veteran, even though his suit had been barely nicked by Sima Garahau's Gelgoog Marine Commander type. In a mobile suit using the mobile frame technology, all of the actuators and other systems that are integral to the suit are included in the frame. Think of it this way, instead of just being a skeleton, the frame of the suit is now the skeleton and the musculature on top of the vital organs, with the armor doing what armor does. This sort of approach allowed for a more flexible and agile mobile suit. Now, exactly how did this affect mobile suit development? Well, let's look at it in the short term and the long term. In the short term, both the AUG and the Titans immediately utilized it in their next sets of mobile suits. The AUG's Nemo mobile suit and the Titans' Marasai mobile suit utilized the technology and paired it with Gundanium alloy to create much more durable, agile, easy to pilot, and cost-effective grunt suits than the Gym 2s and the Hyzacs that each side was previously using. However, the other major benefit came when Kamille Bidan, Franklin's son and Zeta's protagonist, used notes on what was called the Zeta Project to finalize the Zeta Gundam. Now, the Zeta Gundam is also tied to another mobile suit used by the AUG Ace Quattro Vagina in the Hyakushiki, which also used the movable frame concept. Effectively, the movable frame allowed for the creation of the Hyakushiki, but also completed a vision that started with a parent mobile suit of the Hyakushiki that never saw the light of day. This is the Delta Gundam. The MSN-001 Delta Gundam was meant to be the very first transformable mobile suit created under what was the Zeta Project, which was a joint operation under Anaheim Electronics and the AUG. When it comes to the Delta Gundam, it had some of the same features as the Hyakushiki, but had a mode called the Wave Rider. Essentially, the transformation functions would allow a mobile suit to shift between the normal anthropomorphized look of a mobile suit into a mobile armor form that looked like a giant fighter jet. So yes, feel free to make a Transformer joke because the AUG were essentially chasing Jetfire, or Starscream, depending on your perspective. Regardless, had the Delta Gundam ever been completed, it would have been equipped with a beam rifle, a beam cannon under its shield, 60mm Vulcans in the head, a pair of beam sabers, but it would also sport the same anti-beam coating that later was put on the Hyakushiki. However, it would end up just being an example of a mobile suit design that was too ambitious for its own good, and would never actually be physically realized. Now, what ended up becoming realized because of the movable frame tech, and how it was implemented into some of the same ideas of the Delta Gundam, would bring the realization of the Zeta Gundam to life, alongside research that came from the Rick Diaz, which was also part of the Zeta Project. Though I'll go into a full breakdown of the Zeta Gundam when we get there in the series, what you need to understand is that everything the Delta Gundam was trying to do, the Zeta Gundam did in spades, plus added new type specific equipment called a biosensor, which effectively allowed a new type to harness their psychic abilities to power up the mobile suit. The Zeta Gundam's successor, the Double Zeta, piloted by Best Boy Judo Ashita, would implement similar equipment, a similar transformable gimmick, but would have considerably more firepower. The thing is, the Zeta Gundam was so special that this mobile suit to the Federation would be what they would chase in development for many, many years to come. You see, after this, the Federation really wanted a way to mass-produce the Zeta Gundam, due to its wonderful intermixing of speed, versatility, and power. This, of course, extends to Karaba and to the AUG as well. When we get past this, you'll understand why that is. But regardless, 3 more Zeta Gundams would be developed prior to the Federation trying to develop Zeta stuff. These were called the 3A, the 3B, and the 3C, with the 3A being piloted by none other than Amuro Ray, and the 3B piloted by our old friend Shin Matsunaga, formerly of Zeon, who would end up joining the AUG. And then the 3C was piloted by a new type. And of those 3 series Zeta Gundams, that was the only one with any sort of biosensor technology because Amuro was actively avoiding it. Now Karaba, the AUG's Earthbound counterpart, would also develop the Zeta Plus, as a suit meant squarely for use on the Earth. The thing is that very few of these would use a biosensor like the Zeta did, and tended to be much more stripped down to just be used on the Earth itself. Now this sort of mentality would also be taken into account in regards to the stripping down when the Rezel was developed, which completely separated the Wave Rider's wings from the rest of the mobile suit when a mobile armor mode was not needed, though this concept was scrapped after the Second Neo-Zeon War because it just wasn't able to compete with the new type capable mobile suits that Char Aznable was fielding with his version of Neo-Zeon during that conflict. However, one suit's ideas and simple transformation gimmicks were mirrored to finally perfect the transformation sequence without breaking the bank. Another mobile suit that the AUG used was called the Methus, which was at best a little gopher-looking mobile suit developed by the Zeta project. The thing about the Methus is that even though it's got some obvious structural issues, it could shift from mobile armor mode and back to mobile suit mode faster than the Zeta, and could do it much easier. At this point, the Zeta II was developed, taking notes from the Methus in its construction, and would end up being used in both Neo-Zeon wars. During the second one, it was actually piloted by our old friend Travis Kirkland of the Slave Rates. Yeah, didn't think we'd hear from him again, did ya? Now we'll discuss the events more about what happened and how he got the suit when we get to the second Neo-Zeon war, but just know that he was actually a pilot of the Zeta II, and when he piloted it, it had a really dope paint scheme. There it is! Anyway, regardless, we finally saw the Zeta series put into proper mass production with the RGZ-95 Rezel. I don't know if Kamille and Fa Yuri ever had kids after Zeta and Double Zeta, but their mobile suits sure as shit did. This suit and all of its variations are basically a marriage of the Zeta Gundam and the Methus, having a quick transformation setup and a lot of the Zeta Gundam's firepower and weaponry without needing the new type gimmickry of a biosensor to bring out everything that the suit could do. This time period would also see the Delta Gundam resurrected in a sense with 2 other suits, called the Delta Plus and the Gundam Delta Kai, which took ideas from the Delta Gundam and made them more practical with the Delta Plus, and then took those concepts and put them on fucking steroids with a bunch of experimental weaponry with the Delta Kai. And then, of course, the movable frame technology would continue to be key in the evolution of mobile suits, all the way up to the creation of the UC Gundam, which ended up using technology that allowed it to fly without a Wave Rider, called the Minovsky Flight Mode. However, for this mobile suit to be able to do that, it had to be massive, standing close to 90 feet tall. My overall point with this video is that we can actually trace all of these mobile suits, from the UC Gundam to the Rezel and the Rezel and the Delta Kai and the Delta Plus, and all of them all the way back to our old friend, the Gundam Mark II. If it wasn't for the invention of the mobile frame concept, we would have never gotten the Wave Rider concept. We would have never gotten any of these technologies, to be frank. If it wasn't for the Gundam Mark II being stolen by the AUG, entire wars, not just war, but wars, could have turned out very differently. In short, thanks for being a shitty dad, Franklin Bidan. Mission accomplished. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to hit like, share it, subscribe it, consider becoming a channel member for bonus content, Discord access, and so on and so forth. With all that said, my name is Micah Curtis, your favorite vanilla gorilla. I will see you guys with the next one.